Hello and welcome to this week's movie review where I'll be talking about the 2023 movie The Iron Claw. Directed by Sean Durkin, starring Zac Efron, Jeremy Allen White, Holt McCallany, and Harris Dickinson. The film tells the story of the Von Erichs, who were a pro wrestling family that rose to fame throughout the 80s, and showcases the triumph as well as the tragedy that unfortunately bestowed of the family. And I gotta say, as a longtime pro wrestling fan, I really enjoyed this movie. I wanted to start this review by recognizing some of the great performances in the movie. The one that stands out to me obviously is, I think, Zac Efron as Kevin Von Erich. I think that he poured himself into the role and absolutely completely transformed himself physically. There's actually a shot early on in the movie, it's not no spoiler or anything like that, where he's trying to talk to his mom while she's working on something in her room, and he is like in between a doorway, and he looks so huge, bro. He doesn't even look like a real person. It honestly looks like CGI, just how ridiculous he looks. He looks like He-Man, honestly. He looks like He-Man, and I want to give props to all the actors, because I'm pretty sure they all went through the similar, obviously not to the extent that he went to, but in terms of like working out and getting in shape for the wrestling thing. And I heard that Chavo Guerrero, shout out to Chavo Guerrero, had a big part of putting together the matches and the choreography of the kind of in-ring scenes. Also, Holt McCallany, I hope I'm saying that last name right, but he plays Fritz Von Erich, who's the father of the Von Erichs, of all the brothers. And man, immediately I think he stands out, like in terms of getting Fritz's voice down. And obviously this is all like before my time. I started watching pro wrestling. I was born in 97. I'm a post 97 person, so I don't know how people kind of distinguish me as a fan, but I caught like the tail end of the Attitude Era, really the Ruthless Aggression era in terms of the mainstream WWE aspect. And yeah, as I became like an older fan, obviously in my like early 20s, I kind of drifted away from watching. Even to this day, I know what's going on, but in terms of watching week to week, although I will say nowadays it's getting pretty interesting with things going on. So I always heard the name Von Erichs, and specifically Fritz Von Erich. There's actually a podcast I listened to called the K-Fabulous Lucha Brothers. Shout out to them. And they would always bring up the fact that Fritz was like this hard ass, kind of like, my boys were bred to be WWE or my boys were bred to be the NWA champions. You know what I'm saying? Like, real kind of hard ass. And I love the opening as well, kind of showing him as a pro wrestler, and then like it kind of jumps into the Von Erich story, in particular Kevin's, and kind of seeing his journey as he tries to rise to the top of the ranks. There's a lot of things I love about this movie and very few things I don't like about the movie. If I could just get through the two things that I want to say disliked, but just as a mark, I want to say that, which is like a pro wrestling term. A mark is basically like a sucker, like a pro wrestling fan who just like falls for anything or is like really into the product. A mark, as a mark, like seeing Jeremy Allen White, who I think did a really good job, is just knowing how Kerry Von Erich looks. And honestly, out of all the Von Erich people, he's the one that I knew the most of, because he had a WWF run. So I knew his history kind of, and I knew about his injury and stuff like that. So I knew a little bit about Kerry. So I've known how he looks like. So honestly, when they first announced the movie, I assumed Zac Efron was going to play Kerry. But instead, he was playing Kevin, and they got Jeremy Allen White to play Kerry. And like I said, the stature of Jeremy and the stature of Kerry are like two completely, like, Kerry's was gigantic. I will say this, though. The hair of Jeremy Allen White was really well done, and really did capture Kerry stuff. There's a couple scenes where they kind of shoot him from behind, and it's kind of an upper shot of his, like, you just kind of see his upper body, shoulders, and his hair, and that does look like Kerry Von Erich. Also, the actor who plays David Von Erich, I thought he did a fantastic job, especially when it came to cutting the promos. And there's actually a funny scene where like Kevin's trying to cut a promo, or Zac Efron's character's trying to cut I won't say character, but Zac Efron's as Kevin is trying to cut a pro wrestling promo, and oftentimes I feel exactly the way he does, where I'm kind of repeating lines or repeating sentences to try to get it right, especially when I'm filming videos like this, as far as like reviews or solo reviews. And to me, David was the one that really sold the pro wrestling promo when he was talking about the free birds and stuff like that. Like, he really nailed that. And the guy's British, so goddamn, like, these British people just nail American accents apparently. But yeah, I thought the actor who played David Von Erich, I think Harrison Dickinson, I believe is his name, did a fantastic job. The mother in the movie did a fantastic job, as well as the actress who plays Kevin Von Erich's, or plays Zac Efron's, I'm going to say Zac Efron, plays Zac Efron's wife in the movie, did a fantastic job. But yeah, just in terms of like other negatives that I didn't like about the movie, it would just have to be like nitpicky kind of things. I think it's universal from what I've seen in different reviews and in different forms of like wrestling fans that no one really enjoyed the actor who played Ric Flair in terms of the promo that they showed him cutting. I didn't like that. Although I will say him post-match just hanging out with the Von Erichs, I thought it was like he did kind of capture Ric Flair's kind of party animal reputation that Ric Flair does have. Even to this day, there's stories of him like just being at an airport like bar and taking shots all day with Tony Hinchcliffe and stuff like that. So it lives the gimmick, honestly. Ric Flair is one of the few guys that still goes pretty hard to this day, despite everything he's been through. But honestly, in terms of negatives, that might be it. There is something else that I'm undecided on, but it is a spoiler, so I'll kind of save it to the end of the video. But yeah, the story of the Von Erichs and the Von Erich curse has always been an interesting topic for me personally. To me, they're the Kennedys of the pro wrestling business in terms of the tragedies they experienced and the legacy that the Von Erichs have. I mean, I have a Stone Cold Steve Austin Blu-ray where he talks about going to the Sportsatorium, and I believe in Dallas, Texas, where he'd watch the Von Erichs battle the Fabulous Freebirds and stuff like that. Like, people would go to this on a weekly basis, and I thought the way they captured that, the kind of party atmosphere of you see guys bringing kegs, you see guys bringing 6-packs, beers, and like people are just pulling up in their trucks and going to see wrestling. This seems like an awesome, simple time. And the kind of local celebrity, I think they nail that pretty well, where like they never make them seem like they're these worldwide, like, you know, like a Hulk Hogan and stuff like that, who's like more universally recognized. But they do capture that kind of local media aspect or local fan base really well. But yeah, the movie basically covers the Von Erichs, especially in particular Kevin Von Erich's kind of rise to prominence throughout the 80s, and him and his family kind of selling out the Sportsatorium on a weekly basis, kind of rise the ranks, trying to get that NWA championship shot. I will also give a shout out to the actor who played Harley Race. Thought the actor who played Harley Race was fantastic. The ring announcer I thought was really good. I don't know who he was supposed to be in particular, but he just kind of nailed that kind of old school. I don't even want to say Jim Ross, because Jim Ross is like a very modern person, but that kind of old school, like play-by-play, or not even play-by-play, but it's kind of old school, like talking head. I thought everything in terms of the period piece aspect of the movie was fantastic. The costume designs, the cinematography, everything looked like an old school movie. The vehicles they were driving, everything was like nailed to a T. I didn't really notice any slippage in terms of like details. I was like, oh, it looks like a modern shot, or oh, that looks like it literally felt like you were in the 80s. And I loved it, man. I love it because, like I said, this is way before me. You know, as a pro wrestling fan, I was, you know, early 2000s kind of guy, so all this is like just things I could like watch and see old footage of. So to see a movie about it was really special, and for it to be about the Von Erichs and knowing their story, kind of going into it a little bit. I knew the story, but I knew kind of the cliff notes. I knew the kind of like bullet points of the Von Erich family. I never really knew certain aspects, or I never really knew how certain things unfolded. And to see it happen, and to see how everything happened kind of very like back to back was kind of difficult to get through. Again, I want to praise Zac Efron's performance, because I thought he did a really fantastic job of just kind of this person having to deal with a lot of tragedy in his life. And man, I will say this, I think they nailed the brotherly aspect like to a T. And honestly, in terms of like sadness, to me, that's one of the most sad parts, is that the pressure of that the dad had on this family, you know, almost similar to like a Joe Jackson type, these kind of hard ass like parents who like, you're gonna see their vision through, you know what I'm saying? You're not even gonna be living your life. You're gonna be seeing their vision and their plans that they had for you through. And seeing that kind of pressure get to some of the boys, and seeing that pressure get to Kevin in particular, and him having to deal with that, and him kind of always kind of, you know, not defending his dad, but there is kind of like an abused victim in this, you know what I'm saying? It wasn't like his dad was just, you know, whooping his ass from what we see in the movie, but like verbally and mentally really did a number on this family. It's funny because the day before I had actually I went to the Toyota Center with my cousin. Shout out to Miguel, shout out to Andres, shout out to Josh, and we watched a WWE live event, which was like a house show that they had at the Toyota Center, which was a lot of fun. And then the next day we saw the Iron Cloth. I was like, damn, there's a lot of wrestling, like, you know, within a couple of days. But like I said, I always loved it. I always knew about these kind of stories. Unfortunately, being a pro wrestling fan, anyone who's like, I don't want to say anyone who's not like not a casual. I mean, even the casuals know about the tragedies, like you know, Chris Benoit, or the tragedy even like with someone like Eddie Guerrero, who just died far too young. I love this business so much, and even though it did kind of start in the carnival, you know, aspect of things, when it's good, it's like nothing else, man. You know, when they nail it, they really like hook me in, and I'm like watching week to week. You know what I'm saying? Like I said, things are picking up now, modern day. So I you know, and I say that to say there is a lot of tragedy that comes with this business. You know, if or this sport even. You know, you people, as being a pro wrestling fan, you always hear, oh, it's fake, it's predetermined, this and that. But man, physically, these guys like put themselves through it, and I always had a respect for them in that aspect. I have a respect for them for their schedule, because now I think the schedule is calming down, but before, bro, they're running like so hard. And even then, even back in these days, you kind of see in the territory days where a guy will be here for a little bit, then he's traveling to Japan, then he's traveling to like Mexico, then he's traveling to like, you know, they're doing the loop and just doing everything. That was hard, you know, and especially when they're driving to town, like it's just a hard life that these pro wrestlers have, that always like garnered respect for me that I had for them, you know, and that's kind of, you know, the main reason why I respect them so much. But unfortunately, there is a lot of tragedy with this business. There's a lot of tragedy. There's a lot of dark aspects to this business. And it's one thing for a fan to kind of, you know, when we see the news, we're kind of like I said last year, the Bray Wyatt situation really like that just kind of blew me away, where I was like, that was the first one in a long time where I was like, it just kind of took the wind out of me, honestly. I was such a big fan of the guy, had his t-shirts, big fan of his character. And for him to just be gone like that is like, what? Even the promos he was cutting in the, you know, in his kind of last run, where he was kind of talking more as like himself and not even like a character or anything like that. It was just stuff like that. The Ultimate Warrior one was kind of weird, where he got inducted to the Hall of Fame and then like was on Raw and did a speech, and then like dropped dead that night. He dropped dead. Like, stuff like that is so eerie to me and so weird. Seeing this movie how they dealt with the tragedy, you know, from their perspective, from the actual pro wrestler's perspective, and family perspective, really, it's just hard. You know, it's just hard. It really makes you think, like, goddamn, like, it just kind of reinforces that, yeah, this is something that these people go through on a yearly basis. Losing their friends, losing people that they care about. You know, my overall review for the movie is that I highly recommend it. I think it's a fantastic movie. I will say that if you're interested in stories like this, and pro wrestling is full of them, like I said, Vice has this series called Dark Side of the Ring, where they kind of go into these stories that like major companies like WWE and even at AEW, which is like the secondary kind of company that kind of took over like within the last couple years, they don't really want these stories to get out. You know what I'm saying? Any drama behind the scenes or any tragedy in the business, they don't really talk about like that. You know what I'm saying? So even WWE, like, they weren't gonna cover this. You know what I'm saying? I doubt it. Maybe they have a Von Erich's DVD out there somewhere, like back in the day or something, but I don't think so. You know, just because it's such a heavy topic, and that they want people to keep coming to their shows. They want, you know, people to see pro wrestling as this kind of like fun, which it is. You know what I'm saying? It's a fun, family friendly business, which also like appeals to like an older group of individuals. Now I'm just gonna count to 3, and after that I'll kind of get into the spoiler aspects that I don't know. I'm still undecided on, like I said, but give you guys a count of 3. Anyone that doesn't want spoilers, go ahead, click off the video, and then anyone who does or doesn't care, feel free to listen. And so 3, 2, 1. All right, spoiler territory. The other aspect that I was kind of undecided on, honestly, was the kind of surreal moments that they had. There's a moment where the brothers that passed away kind of all, I believe after Carrie Von Erich dies, which was played by Jeremy Allen White, after he passes away, he's kind of on this boat and he kind of meets up with the other 2 brothers that died in the movie, David Von Erich and Mike Von Erich. And also their oldest brother in a way, but the one that died the youngest, which was like, I believe he drowned or he got electrocuted while he was on a family vacation. And unfortunately, he was a small kid. He was probably 4 years old, 3 years old. Yeah, I don't know how I felt about that. I don't know, that it's very like I understand the scene because you kind of see Zac Efron's character or Kevin Von Erich's character in the movie just sitting there, as his brother's body's on the table, on the dining table, and he's just kind of looking. And even that, saying that he wanted to walk with his brothers before killing himself. Carrie, when Carrie said that line alone was brutal, just heavy line. So I get the scene that is kind of what Kevin is seeing in his head, that his brothers are reunited. You know what I'm saying? So I understand the scene. I don't know if it played as well with me. It kind of just, I don't know. It's left me undecided on it. I was going to review this right after seeing it, but that scene and the ending in particular really just stuck with me and had me questioning damn, I don't know if I enjoyed the movie, like I said, but I don't know if I enjoyed that aspect of it. I will also say this. There's a scene, and I only seen the movie once, so I don't know if this is, maybe I'm just, making shit up. But there's a scene where his mom is watching a match. I believe it's when Carrie Von Erich goes to Japan after his brother passes away, and he's going to wrestle for the NWA title. I believe so. Before he gets into the motorcycle accident. And in the scene, you see his mom watching the TV, and she kind of feels like a presence. And there's a person on the stairwell, and it looks like David Von Erich, bro. That's who I'm assuming it is. It's David Von Erich. I assumed it was Zac Efron's wife in the movie that was on the stairwell watching it, then left. But I was like, well, damn, was that David Von Erich? And they were kind of doing his presence was there as she was watching the thing. So stuff like that, I don't know how I feel about it, honestly. I don't know how I feel about it because the reality of the story and the reality of everything hit so hard that I don't know how I feel about those aspects being brought into it. I understand why they were brought into it. Like I said, from the characters' perspectives, I understand that. Yeah, I don't know. I'm undecided on that. I will also say, since we're doing a spoiler discussion real quick, the last line where he's just watching his kids and you see Zac Efron finally break down after, going through all this tragedy with his brothers passing away. And he's like, I was once a brother. Pretty hard. Not gonna lie to you. When he said I was once a brother to his kids, as his kids are playing, and they're like, we'll be your brothers now, Dad, or something like that. Heavy line. Fantastic movie. That line really stuck with me, and just that kind of look. There's that. I've been seeing it around where it's like Zac Efron is kind of staring off in the locker room, and I'm in a similar position where I don't really, every time emotions try to every time I'm overcome with emotions, I kind of shut down verbally. I don't really say much, whenever I'm really, really emotional, I just kind of get quiet, and it's kind of hard for me to speak sometimes. I'll even type up something and show people that rather than try to attempt to talk because verbally I just can't get it out. So I thought that was really well done. But yeah, that's going to do it for this review, guys. Thank you so much for watching. Please leave a like, comment. Let me know what you think about the movie. Share the video if you feel so inclined to. Please share the video. And I think this year I'm going to be dropping these movie reviews every Tuesday. So Tuesday will be every movie review. Thursday would be a music review, whether it be an old release or a new release, depending on what's coming out. and Friday will be the podcast. So I think that schedule works for me. I could film a lot of shit on Sundays, and if I need to edit things still on Monday, it kind of gives me a day, to still edit things on Monday, and then Tuesday, everything will be up. You know what I'm saying? For the movie review, Thursday will be the music review, and then Friday the podcast. So that should be the schedule. This year, I'm gonna try to maintain that as best as I could and be consistent. I know I kind of fucked off the last couple months. But I really want to grow the channel a lot this year, and I really want to, keep this thing going and hopefully do this full time one day. So thank you guys so much for watching. Like I said, please leave a like, subscribe, and I will talk to you next time. Thank you so much. Peace.